So I want you to try a quick mental exercise with me, just for a second. If you're driving, obviously keep your eyes on the road,
Yeah, please do that.
right? But otherwise, just close your eyes for a second.
Yeah.
I want you to transport yourself forward in time. It's early 2026.
Not that far away, really.
No, not at all. So you're walking down this crowded metropolitan street. Maybe it's New York or Tokyo or London.
Just the usual chaos, right?
Right.
Traffic honking and construction and people rushing to work.
Exactly, that standard urban soundscape.
Mm-hmm.
But here is the anomaly in this picture. You aren't looking down.
Your hands are empty.
Right, your hands are completely empty. Your phone is tucked away in your pocket. You are heads up and engaging with the world directly. But, and here's the kicker, you aren't missing a beat.
Which is the dream, I mean.
Yeah, you know exactly when your Uber's arriving. You know that a little Thai place on the corner has a 4.8-star rating. You even know the name of the song playing from the car that just drove past you.
Which sounds like this utopian return to, living in the moment. Until you realize you aren't just using your biological eyes.
Right, exactly. You're seeing the world through a layer of data. And that is the exact future we are unpacking in today's deep dive.
It's a massive shift.
It really is. We're digging into a fascinating set of reports and discussions surrounding what is being called the visionary gambit, specifically Apple's visual intelligence future.
Yeah, the source material on this is incredible.
We've got this stack of insights from industry analysts Marcus and Elena, and they have broken down exactly what Tim Cook is currently teasing, and more importantly, what it actually means for you and me.
And I think it's crucial to establish right up front here. This isn't just about a new gadget.
No.
We aren't talking about a smartwatch or a slightly better camera on a phone. We're talking about visual intelligence.
Visual intelligence.
Right. That is the term you're going to hear repeatedly in this deep dive. The source material heavily suggests this is the next major interface shift in all of computing.
So the mission for this deep dive is to sort of move past the marketing hype. We want to understand the actual mechanics of this technology, like how it genuinely works.
And then grapple with the strategic reality of it.
Exactly. Is this the liberation of our attention? Or is it, as one of our sources puts it, a gilded cage? A trap that locks you into an ecosystem you literally can't afford to leave.
It boils down to the question of whether we are upgrading our vision or just renting it.
Renting our vision. That is a heavy thought. Let's start with that user experience in 2026, though, because the source material makes a distinction that I think is the foundation of this entire behavioral shift.
The looking at versus looking through concept?
Yes, they talk about moving from looking at a screen to looking through a lens.
That is the fundamental behavioral change right there. If you think about the last 15 or almost 20 years, the smartphone era has been totally defined by this head-down posture.
We're all just constantly looking at our hands.
Exactly. We disengage from physical reality to access digital information. We stop walking on the sidewalk to check a map. We look down to read a text.
Right.
Visual intelligence, as it's described in these leaks, is designed to completely invert that. It layers the digital context directly over the physical world.
But we need to be clear about what that looks like. Because this isn't just augmented reality in the way we've seen it in sci-fi movies.
Oh, right, like the Iron Man display.
Yeah, where there are floating holograms and glowing charts everywhere. The analysts, Marcus and Elena, describe it as something much more subtle.
Correct. And that subtlety is the key to the whole thing. Sci-fi usually depicts AR as visual clutter. Windows popping up everywhere and emails floating in the sky.
Which would be terrifying while crossing a street.
Total nightmare. But what Apple is teasing, according to the source, is context-aware intelligence. It's not about projecting a movie onto the sidewalk. It's about the device understanding what you are specifically looking at and offering relevant data only when it's necessary.
So it's essentially silence until you need the noise.
Exactly. It's passive until it becomes active.
The source gives a couple of specific use cases that really ground this concept.
Yeah.
The first one is the sushi spot scenario.
Oh, yeah, that one is great.
Walk us through that because it felt very practical. And honestly, it's something I absolutely need in my life.
It is deceptively simple. So you are walking past a restaurant, you are hungry. Today, that process is friction heavy.
Yeah, you stop on the sidewalk.
Right. You stop, you unlock your phone, you open an app, you type in the name of the place, and you scroll through reviews. You are standing in the middle of the sidewalk, just being an obstacle for everyone else.
Guiltily, I do this all the time. I'm that guy.
We all do it.
Yeah.
But in this 2026 scenario, the glasses use their outward-facing cameras to identify the restaurant automatically.
Just by looking at the sign.
Yep. The onboard AI, or rather the tethered AI, which we'll get to in a minute, instantly queries the database. And as you glance at the door, a small visual indicator pops up, just a little floating tag that tells you health code violation grade C.
Which is an instant buzzkill for lunch, but incredibly high-value information.
Exactly. And notice the lag of friction there. You didn't ask for that information. You didn't type a query into a search bar.
Right.
The system understood your context. It registered user is looking at a restaurant. And it surfaced the most critical data point available. That is the intelligence part of visual intelligence.
It's an active understanding of the world, not just a passive display screen.
Right. It connects the digital reputation of a place to its physical storefront instantly.
It effectively acts as a filter for reality. It's filtering out the bad choices before you even step inside the building.
Which is a huge time saver.
There was another example in the source that I think appeals to a totally different kind of curiosity, the car example.
The Porsche 911 scenario.
Yeah. I'm not a car guy by any means, but I've definitely had moments where I see something cool on the street and I'm like, what is that?
Right. You see a car drive by, the glasses identify it instantly, and perhaps they overlay the price or the specs or the exact year. It's satisfying that ambient curiosity in real time.
It's essentially Shazam for the physical world.
That is a perfect analogy. Shazam listens to audio and identifies the song. Visual intelligence looks at objects, flowers or landmarks or cars or products, and identifies them.
But it seems like it goes a step further than Shazam.
It does. It connects that identification to an action. If you look at a concert poster on a wall, it doesn't just say, this is a poster. It offers you a little visual button to buy tickets immediately.
So if we zoom out a bit, the implication here is that the physical world literally becomes clickable. It becomes searchable in real time.
Yes. The analysts in our source material emphasize this heavily. Marcus points out that this is exactly what Tim Cook has been building toward for years.
Wow.
It's not about putting a tiny computer on your face. It's about giving you superpowers of perception. You are outsourcing the cognitive load of identifying and vetting things in your environment to an AI.
Which sounds like an incredible superpower. But usually when a massive tech company offers you a superpower, they want something pretty significant in return.
There is no such thing as a free lunch, especially in Cupertino.
Right. And this leads us perfectly into the strategic side of things, because we have to address the elephant in the room, which the source material brings up immediately.
The competitors.
Apple is not the first company to put cameras and AI on a pair of glasses. We have the Bloomberg report mentioned in the source claiming Tim Cook is betting the farm on this technology. But others have already placed their bets.
Far from the first. Yeah.
And-
Google Glass tried it a decade ago, and we all know how that went.
And more recently, we have Meta. We have the Meta Ray-Bans. People are already wearing these things. I see them in coffee shops. They have cameras. They have AI assistants built in.
They do.
So the analyst Elena asked this really sharp question in the text. She asks, is Apple late to the party? Or are they just arriving fashionably late with better champagne?
I love that phrasing so much because it captures the classic Apple playbook perfectly. They are rarely the first movers.
Almost never.
Right. But I think Marcus's counterpoint in the source is the one that really nails the business strategy. He replies, Apple doesn't invent the party, they just buy the venue.
Buy the venue. That is such a heavy phrase. Let's unpack that for a second. What does it actually mean in this specific context?
It means Apple operates on a completely different timeline than everyone else. Think about it. They didn't invent the MP3 player. There were dozens of them before the iPod.
Right.
They didn't invent the smartphone. BlackBerry and Palm were already there. They didn't invent the smartwatch either. But in every single case, they waited.
They let others make the mistakes.
Exactly. They watched the early movers struggle with clunky interfaces and poor battery life and the social awkwardness of using the devices.
Yeah.
And then they entered the market with a product that defined the standard.
So the argument from the source is that Meta and Ray-Ban are essentially just beta testers right now.
Precisely. Meta is out there figuring out the social norms. They're the ones taking the heat for privacy concerns when people record video in public.
Taking all the PR hits.
Yeah. They're figuring out what people actually want to use smart glasses for. Is it for recording TikToks, or is it for asking an AI questions?
And Apple is just watching.
Apple is sitting back, taking notes, and preparing to release a product that solves the friction points Meta is currently discovering, waiting until the tech is truly refined.
And the report suggests that Apple's approach is fundamentally different from Meta's in terms of utility, too.
Mm.
Meta seems really focused on capturing content, photos, videos, live streaming.
Right, because Meta is a social media company.
Yes.
Their hardware is designed to feed their platforms. You capture your life to share it on Instagram or Facebook.
Right.
Apple, however, is positioning this as an information utility.
Mm-hmm.
It's less about broadcasting your life to others and much more about navigating your own life more efficiently.
Which is a huge distinction.
It's crucial because it appeals to a vastly broader demographic. You might not have any desire to be a content creator, but you definitely want to know if that sushi place is safe to eat at.
So while Meta throws the party, Apple buys the building.
And once they own the building, they set the rules of entry.
Which brings us to the when and the how of all this. Because 2026 feels like a very specific target. The source mentions a leak regarding a March 2nd event.
Yes, the hardware reality of it all.
Right, and I found this part surprisingly grounded. I think we all expect these magic glasses that do absolutely everything independently, but the source describes a very specific technical limitation.
This is honestly the most critical technical detail in the entire report. We often imagine these glasses as standalone devices, like a whole iPhone that just sits on the bridge of your nose.
But the laws of physics are stubborn.
Very stubborn. If you try to put a high-end processor, a 5G modem, a battery big enough to run them, and the necessary heat dissipation systems onto a pair of glasses, you do not get sleek eyewear.
You get a motorcycle helmet, or at least something incredibly heavy and hot.
Exactly. And heat on your face is an absolute non-starter. You cannot have a device reaching 100 degrees sitting right on your temples.
So how do they solve it?
The source clarifies that the glasses aren't standalone. The iPhone 18 Pro is acting as the brain for whatever is sitting on your face.
Okay, let's clarify the signal flow here for a second and make sure I've got this right. I'm wearing the glasses. I look at the Porsche 911 on the street. The cameras in the glasses see it. But the glasses aren't the thing figuring out what it is.
No, they aren't. The glasses are essentially just a very sophisticated set of sensors and a display screen. They capture the image data and they transmit it,
To the phone.
right? Likely via some high bandwidth proprietary connection, maybe a custom version of ultra wideband or Wi-Fi 7. It goes to the iPhone 18 Pro in your pocket.
Okay.
The iPhone's processor crunches the data, identifies the car, retrieves the specs from the internet, and then beams that result back up to the glasses to display in your field of vision.
So it is entirely a tethered experience.
It is a symbiotic relationship between the eyewear and the handheld device. And this solves the battery problem, the heat problem, and the weight problem all at once.
But it introduces a brand new problem for the consumer.
The cost.
The cost and the sheer dependency.
Yeah.
This is where the source material transitions into what they call the ecosystem trap.
Yeah.
And I have to admit, when I read the actual checklist of what is required to get this experience, I felt a little protective of my bank account.
It is a formidable list of requirements. So let's look at what the source lays out.
First, obviously, you have to buy the glasses themselves. We don't have a confirmed price leaked yet, but looking at Apple's history, I mean, the Vision Pro was $3,500.
Yeah,
These will likely be cheaper, but it won't be an impulse buy.
definitely not. Likely in the high hundreds or low thousands, positioned as a premium accessory.
But you can't just buy the glasses,
Yeah.
because as we just established, the phone is the brain. So you also need the iPhone 18.
And not just any iPhone 18. The source specifically mentions the Pro model. This implies that the standard models might not have the processing capacity or the specific connectivity chips required to handle real-time visual intelligence with zero latency.
So you are buying the premium glasses, and you're buying the flagship Pro phone. And then just to twist the knife a little, the source mentions you need to update to iOS 26.4.
Which implies the software lock-in. You need the absolute latest OS, which likely pushes you toward other paid services, maybe iCloud for storing those visual queries or an Apple Intelligence subscription.
The source puts it so bluntly. They say it's brilliant business, but terrifying for my wallet.
It really is.
And I want to linger on that term they used, the ecosystem trap. Usually when we hear the word trap, we think of something we are tricked into stepping in, but this concept feels different.
It is very different. A traditional trap is something you fall into and then immediately struggle to escape from. The ecosystem trap, as described here, is designed to be a gilded cage.
Gilded cage.
It is so comfortable and so convenient, and it works so seamlessly that you don't actually want to leave. But the walls around you are getting higher and much more expensive to maintain.
It creates this self-reinforcing loop of hardware dependency. You buy the glasses because you want the visual intelligence, but the glasses make the phone more valuable.
Right.
And once you have both of them, switching to Android becomes virtually impossible because you would be rendering your very expensive eyewear completely useless.
And consider the psychological user experience cost of leaving. Let's say you invest in this entire setup. You spend 2 years walking around with actual superpowers,
Knowing every health code rating instantly.
translating every foreign sign without navigating crowded cities without ever looking at a map. And then you try to switch to a competitor or go back to a standard phone.
You would feel like you've gone blind, or at least like you've lost a major sense.
Exactly. It is like when we moved from dial-up internet to broadband, or from a basic flip phone to a smartphone. You simply can't go back.
Right, once you experience it.
Once you augment your biological senses with that layer of digital data, removing that data feels like a massive downgrade in your capability as a human being.
That is a really profound thought. We aren't just buying a gadget here. We're buying a cognitive upgrade. And once you have that upgrade, the subscription, whether that's an actual monthly fee or just the relentless hardware upgrade cycle, becomes mandatory just to maintain your baseline function in society.
That is the true brilliance of the visionary gambit. They are selling you a totally new way to see the world.
Now, as we start to wrap up this deep dive, I want to briefly summarize this vision of 2026. We are looking at a world of seamlessly augmented information.
Huge stakes for Apple.
Massive stakes. Tim Cook is betting the farm. And incredibly high costs for the consumer. The technology is context-aware, it's tethered to the iPhone 18 Pro, and it locks us into an ecosystem that is expensive but undeniably powerful.
And we have to remember this future isn't far off. 2026 is the date given in the source. That is right around the corner.
It really is. It's the immediate roadmap. So I want to leave everyone listening with a final provocative thought to chew on today.
Let's hear it.
We talked about the ecosystem trap as a financial burden. You have to buy the expensive phone to use the expensive glasses. But I want to push that concept just a little bit further based on the source material.
Okay, go on.
If this technology completely changes how we see the world, if it actually lets you spot health violations instantly, or verify the safety of a product just by looking at it, or navigate cities seamlessly, does it eventually stop being a luxury item?
That is the big question.
We think of flagship iPhones today as nice to have, but try getting a job or functioning in modern society without a smartphone. It's nearly impossible.
Try navigating a new city without GPS. You can't.
Exactly. So if visual intelligence becomes the standard for how we interact with safety and information, will we even have a choice not to pay the admission fee to this ecosystem?
When reality itself becomes paywalled, can you afford to stay on the free tier?
Is it a luxury, or will it become a necessity we simply can't afford to opt out of?
And if it does become a necessity, Apple effectively becomes a utility company for your vision.
Something to think about while you're walking down the street today, probably looking down at your phone. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
See you next time.